A picturesque scheme of green paddy fields enlivens the heart of the poor agriculturist, but it brings gloom to the face of the capitalist who lives by exploiting the poor farmers. With the good rains, the farmer's business in agriculture flourishes. Agriculture is the noblest profession. It makes society happy, wealthy, healthy, honesty, and spiritually advanced for a better life after death. The Vaishya community or the mercantile class of men take to this profession. In Bhagavad Gita, the Vaishyas are described as the natural agriculturists, the protectors of cows, and the general traders. When Lord Sri Krishna incarnated himself at Vrindavana, he took pleasure in becoming a beloved son of such a Vaishya family. Nanda Maharaja was a big protector of cows, and Lord Sri Krishna, as the most beloved son of Nanda Maharaja, used to tend his father's animals in the neighboring forest. By his personal example, Lord Krishna wanted to teach us the value of protecting cows. Nanda Maharaja is said to have possessed 900,000 cows. And the time of Lord Sri Krishna, about 5,000 years ago, the tract of land known as Vrindavana was flooded with milk and butter. Therefore, God's gifted professions for mankind are agriculture and cow protection. Trade is meant only for transporting surplus produce to places where the produce is scanty. But when traders become too greedy and materialistic, they take to large scale commerce and industry and allure the poor agriculturists to unsanitary industrial towns with a false hope of earning more money. The industrialist and the capitalist do not want the farmers to remain at home satisfied with his agricultural produce. When the farmers are satisfied by a luxuriant growth of food grains, the capitalist becomes gloomy at heart. But the real fact is that humanity must depend on agriculture and subsist of agricultural produce. No one can produce rice and wheat in big iron factories. The industrialist goes to the villages to purchase the food grains he is unable to produce in his factory. The poor agriculturist takes advance from the capitalist and sells his produce at a lower price. Hence, food grains are produced abundantly, the farmers become financially stronger, and thus the capitalist becomes morose at being unable to exploit them.
Jai Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Prabhupada is explaining again economy. It is enough to depend on cows and the land. That is the original economy. He is also describing how the capitalist will become disturbed because the agriculturist has become independent of him and he is able to live on his own without coming under the control of the capitalist. This is the whole point. When we depend on Krishna, Krishna gives rains. Krishna gives grains. Krishna gives us milk from the cows for performing yajna, homa, using the ghee. And there is a completely different system of existence that is based on Krishna's instructions. The modern capitalism and the economists and all of them following that, industrialists and everybody, they're all people who are having a parallel system to what Krishna is given. And anybody who does not follow their system, they attack them. And they're extremely angry if you become independent of the system that they have put together. Why? Because they're afraid that you will become free of their control. If you become free of their control, they cannot tax you. They cannot make you buy things. due to that artificial greed and artificial necessity created by them. So they keep you in great moha, illusion. And this is a big bubble. That bubble bursts in Krishna consciousness. When a person becomes Krishna conscious, he understands that only Krishna is in charge. And Krishna's words should be followed. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvarta iha yaha aghayu indriya ramu moham parthasa jivati. Krishna is saying that moham parthasa jivati, it's great illusion if you think that you can live without following the system that have produced. In fact, a lot of our suffering in modern world is because we simply don't follow Krishna's system. The suffering is man-made. It is not even our karma. You must analyze very carefully. Krishna has designed a system that in spite of your karma, you'll get your necessities. Of course, karma can be so bad that you cannot put your food into your mouth. Then that is a different thing. But food can come to your plate, almost. A lot of that type of suffering that we are undergoing is because of not following God's order. So, when devotees become prosperous because they follow Krishna's word, it makes the capitalist and the industrialist morose and gloomy because you're following out of it. This is exactly what the Britishers saw when they came inside India. You see, although the Mughals ruled for so many years, it's mentioned that even when the Mughals stopped ruling, India was one of the largest exporters and the greatest, wealthiest country in the world. 27% of the world's share of economy was in India. Not 1/4, 27%. Before the Britishers started ruling. In 200 years, it came down to 1%. British ruled for 200 years. Because the British knew one thing, which the Mughals did not touch. The culture of India, they did not touch. Because they were also religious. They started conversion, but they didn't actually interfere deeply inside. But the Britishers did that. They know that our economy should be followed, otherwise what is the use? We will not benefit. So they went right inside the psyche of the Indians and destroyed their culture and their faith. Right? And they forcefully, physically, mentally, intellectually, spiritually, they attacked. And they destroyed the culture. That should be noted very carefully. Very important aspect. So people have converted themselves now in India to think that this modern economy will help. No, they are still getting beaten. It's only by keeping agriculture and by keeping the cows, we are going to become prosperous again. Because when India was 27% shares of the world's economy it was holding, it was because it was still doing agriculture and cow protection. It's because of that mainly, not because they excelled in many other things also. The foundation was they were following the orders of God. And we will again become superpower only by following the orders of Krishna given in the Bhagavad Gita. It is the principle. The principle is that if you don't follow God's laws, the system that he has put, evam pravartitam chakram, if you don't, you will not be prosperous. Prosperity comes by following the instructions of the Lord. There is no doubt about it. If we can cultivate, if we can protect cows and learn to live by Mother Nature's supplies from the earth and from the cow, we will be very successful, because we will be very happy and we will be very prosperous and healthy. Mentally, physically, we will be healthy. And spiritually, we will be moving ahead towards Krishna, because that is the right atmosphere. So, Vrindavana is a model of that type of existence. Krishna came here to show us how to live off the land and the cows. And they will give you everything that you need. You'll be free from disease, you'll be free from hunger, you'll be free from unnecessary problems, varieties of anxiety, everything. Right? So this simple thing is a lesson that we need to learn. Simplicity. Why simplicity? Because you don't need to be complex. Everything is already provided by the Lord. Complexity comes when you think you have to provide. And you make everything very complex. Because you are not the designer. You're not the maker, you're not the creator. When somebody who is not the maker and the creator becomes the maintainer. You know, sometimes in projects, we see that the architect has designed things in a particular way. The whole architecture of it, the structural design of it, everything is done in a particular way, where the pipes will come, where the taps will come, where it will go underground, where the cables will run, how the air conditioner will work, how this will work, everything. You have to use the building according to the design. Now, what happens is the persons who buy the building or start using the building, they don't consult the architect anymore. They start making their own plans. They put new wiring, new cabling, new tubing, new plumbing, everything over and above what has already been done. Unnecessary waste. Then finally the building collapses because it has not been utilized as it is. Then they say very bad architecture, very bad structural engineering. It's actually not used properly. It's not used as per the plan, as per the design. And this is happening quite often. So if you don't use this world, you come in very temporarily. You should simply follow the rules and you should get out successfully. We don't have to change anything here. It's too huge to make any changes. But stupid human beings are trying to change the whole system the Creator has made within the short lifespans that they have. And they make a mess of it for everybody. Everybody becomes messed up. Now look at the war going on in Ukraine. Look at the war going on with Russia and Ukraine. It's all complete politics, jealousy, complete Krishna unconsciousness. So when we don't follow God's law, then we are competing, we are making things complex, then we are envious, we are greedy, and we make a mess of our whole human life. If you look at the animals, they are far better. They move in groups, they follow nature's law, they live in harmony with nature. It is only man who disturbs them by killing them. Left alone to themselves, they are in harmony with nature. Everything is happening perfectly. It's a human being who disturbs all other species of life, disturbs nature, upsets the design, upsets everything and creates problems for other human beings. What a civilization, my God. You know, the more we read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad, the more we come to understand we have made a mess. And we willingly made a mess. And we're continuing to make that mess because we don't want to recognize God. God is not an option in our lives. God is very necessary for us to live peacefully in this material world, happily, prosperously. They should be understood by everybody. They should be taught in the schools. It's like religion is an option. You can be an atheist, you can be an agnostic, you can be a theist, it's not an optional thing. You have to bloody well believe in God, otherwise you'll make a mess of everything. That is the lesson that comes out brightly, forcefully from these verses that we read. Because insecurity comes when you don't have belief, faith, and obedience to the laws of God. This should be understood. Insecurity comes when you don't follow the laws of God. Security comes when you're following the laws of God. So when poor farmers are happy, they have green fields, they have plenty of water, they have plenty to eat, they don't like that you're happy. This is the report written in the minutes by Macaulay when he first came to India before the British period. Right? He saw that people are very happy here and there are no beggars. People are very happy, there are no beggars, and most probably they don't need us. This is very different from all other places where they colonized. This very distinct thing. And at that point, they all became very interested. This is a challenge for us to colonize this place. Let's take this challenge. And they started raping the whole country. They finished draining the country of all its material resources. But the problem is, this country is not running on material resources, it's running on spiritual resources. So they could not really kill the country. Just like by killing the body, you don't kill the soul. You don't kill the soul, right? So they couldn't kill the soul of this wonderful civilization that is based on Krishna's instructions. It is growing back again. It is because of that principle of people following Krishna's instructions. That is why Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada should be credited in a very big way. Because he is the one who went around the world and told everybody and revived the whole teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the following of it and the Harinam Sankirtan and everything. Due to which reason people all over the world are actually happy, because Harinam Sankirtan is being done everywhere. And if at all there is any prosperity, it's because cows are being looked after. The land is again being tilled slowly, and more of it will be done, and Krishna's instructions will be followed. There'll be a golden age coming. That's already predicted. It will again be based on cows and the land. And it will be devotees moving around the world, teaching people how to live by Krishna's instructions using the land and the cow. And there'll be a huge amount of those people, although there'll be other types of people in the cities and other places. And finally, of course, after 10,000 years, it is mentioned, Kali will take over again forcefully. So it's this golden age that we are in the beginning of, that again Krishna consciousness, following of Krishna's laws, will be taken up. So we should all read these instructions very carefully. They are not impractical things being mentioned. They are very practical things. In fact, these are the only practical things. Shooting Chandrayaan into space to land in the moon, fighting with China and Russia to land similar space vehicles into the moon. These are not going to solve the problems of life at all. They're only going to complicate. Why don't you spend all that money and cultivate the land and look after the cow? You will see everybody will become happy, filled with, enough amount of food, prosperity, and everything. This is a reality. People don't want to accept this. This is actually the reality. So I would stop here and say that the enviousness of people watching very simple living and high thinking, I call that very smart living, that the devotees will do and showcase to the whole world. That is going to be the next big challenge in society. And it's going to be Prabhupada's followers who are in various shapes and sizes, picking it up all over the world, and who see it as perfect logic and correct understanding, who are going to take this. The time is very ripe for it. The world situation is so bleak and so dark, and nobody is really confident of what to do and what not to do. There is no leadership. So devotees should actually lead people. They should study Prabhupada's books very carefully, understand this, and usher in a great period in the period of Lord Chaitanya. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Any comment or question? Yeah.
So for the today's class, what is the first step we can take towards that goal we have discussed?
What first step we can take?
Yes, Maharaj, because recently people are leaving the fields of agriculture because of the land is losing its fertility and everything. They are going for an IT industry and they are going outside the town because of that. But again, we are coming back to that place means it will be a totally difficult for us to change the situation and everything.
Well, the soil has become like that wherever mass agriculture has catered to the greed of the economists and the so-called commercial capitalist people. And they are the ones who are even making the agriculture mass-oriented production. We should teach people to live within communities where they can have pieces of land that will have enough for them to grow, enough for the community to get food, not for the sake of trade. Prabhupada says that only when it is surplus, you must trade it. And rarely there will be surplus. Trading occurs only when there is surplus. Trading cannot become the be-all and the end-all of life. It cannot become the main function of life that you run behind trading and produce always more. These are all against principles of the design of this world. So, if people start worshipping Krishna, cultivating small patches of land, and looking after it carefully, and looking the cow, they will have enough for themselves. And we can show model communities like that, where people are happy. So the bulk of the people slowly will understand. You must understand that these capitalist industries are a very small percentage of the whole population. A very small percentage of the whole population holds a huge percentage of the wealth of the world. If the rest of the world get together and go and do agriculture, these guys have got no chance. That is the way mass movement, and people should be educated about what they are suffering, why they are suffering. People are simple. They don't need to be complicated. So we need to teach people Krishna's instructions. We need to, in a small way, start these things. Like many people have understood, not only in ISKCON, there are many groups now going out and cultivating and living off somewhere in the forest, somewhere in other places, where the lands have not yet been touched. In all these places, they're going and starting. I heard in America, there are so many small families who go outside and do their own cultivation, their own this thing, and live off a water body. And they're very happy. They come once in a while to the city. They buy some supplies that they need and they go back. This is a fact. I told you last time about the Amish community, which is 250 to 300 years old, or even more than that now. You can Google Amish and you can see they still live outside the grid. They don't depend on anything produced by the modern world. They till the land, they use the farm animals, they have their own church, they have their own educational system, they produce oil, they produce this, they produce everything, they do themselves. They work hard and they have their own community. They live off the land. For them, agriculture is one of the main things. They produce wheat, they make their own bread, each family has got 10 children minimum, it seems. They're completely traditional people. Today, in today's setting, don't think this type of thinking is the common thinking. There are many people who think differently. You're not exposed to them. We don't have to think only this way. The educational system and this all putting through one capillary tube, you're pushed through it as though this is the only thinking. And we have to force ourselves through. We suffer a lot. Everybody suffers a lot because of this dominance of the capitalists, this dominance of all these economists and industrialists. You don't understand that you're suffering. You have to get out of it and watch. You have to read Prabhupada's books. Then only you understand what these fellows are doing to you. Many of us don't think. And when we start thinking and discussing these things, they'll come and shoot you out. They are very deadly fellows. They know. They don't want you to think differently from what they are telling you to think. There is a whole hierarchy of people making you think in a particular way. There's a big racket of hiding the real information and making you think in a particular way. Maya is supporting that very much, along with these fellows. If you examine it, there are so many theories of different types of people who are actually holding power in the world. It's not the presidents of the countries. There are huge groups of people, the rich guys, who control the wealth of the whole world. They have full control over it. There are people, all sorts of things are going on. We know very less. We are down the line somewhere, busy trying to get a few grains of food for our family members and everything. We work very hard. Actually, we don't have to do that. Everything is provided by Krishna. For food, everybody is equal in front of Krishna. For maintenance, everybody is equal. Krishna is provided for all his children equally. It's not that we have to get it through these people. Therefore, we start reliance on Krishna. Boldly step into it. And there are many people who are doing it. They've started doing it and they are successful. But many people are getting into agriculture and again making money by mass producing and selling. And they consider it to be a great thing. You're wrong again. They again will face the same difficulties. So Prabhupada has given us advice that you should start farming, you should start cow protection, you should learn to live off local produce made by the devotees. This is very, very important. We are in a very beginning stage in Krishna consciousness development. But gradually, as people get convinced, this will happen. There's no doubt about it. Because scarcity in this world will push us towards agriculture. These people will not help. But people all know one thing, they can go to the land and they can till it and things will come out of it. That hope is always there in people. And always they can depend on the cow. These are most dependable. But everything else is not so dependable. Because it's Krishna's produce. So we have to start in a small way. And agriculturists and farmers are all people who are very disillusioned and slowly moving out. They should be given hope. It should be the foundational principles of living prosperously with God in the center should be told and explained to people as a reality. It's not an option. It's not an option that you believe in God or not. If you don't believe in God, actually you won't get food. If you don't believe in God, you won't get food actually. But God is very merciful that in spite of you not believing, He is giving you food. That's what is the real thing. As per the system, you will not survive. Think about it. Yeah. Any other question or comment? These things you must. Yeah.
Just a spin off to that previous question. So practically, does Maharaj see that there is a chance, or should it be done that devotees take up leadership positions? Because first solution what Maharaj gave is I mean in the book also is given is that we form our own communities, mass movement, in our own ways all over the world. But should there be leaderships sprouting up among these communities? In other words, devotees taking leadership. By leadership, I mean, let's say specifically into politics, because unlike older monarchies, now there's nuclear governments, and when Prabhupada says that devotees are going to take up leadership roles, was there any chance that in politics there could be scope? I just wanted to hear Maharaj's comment on that.
Prabhupada said, yes, devotees should take part in politics. And they should be leaders. In the Bhagavatam, he has written how, when they become leaders, they should govern. And he has given a list of things they should do. Prabhupada envisages, don't think this is just some religious movement. It's not some religious cult. Prabhupada's movement is meant to take over the whole world and make people happy according to Krishna's plan. This you must have faith in. It's not an ordinary movement. When Prabhupada was asked in an interview, will your followers take part in politics? He said, why not? He said, why not? Because only by taking through politics, I'll be able to influence the people. I need power. I need power. So he said, why not? In fact, during Prabhupada's time, one of his devotees stood for election also in America. I think for some lower level post. He lost, of course, because he spoke Krishna conscious principles. Prabhupada said, that's okay. Prabhupada said, speak the principles. Even now in America, you have the Tulsi Gabbard. The Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii. She's a devotee. She's a Gaudiya Vaishnava devotee. She reads Bhagavad Gita every day. She knows about Lord Chaitanya. She knows about Krishna. Look at all her talks. She'll speak about Bhagavad Gita and about Lord Krishna. Today, it's happening today. You see Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes, she's
her father. Yeah, her father is a devotee. He was a disciple of some, Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi. And she is known to, from her young age, she has studied Bhagavad Gita with her father. Her name is Tulsi Gabbard. Her name is Tulsi. And she speaks wonderfully. And she's fully into politics. She comments on this fellow, that fellow, from Trump to Biden to everybody. So Prabhupada said, yes, we must take part in politics. But right now we may not be fit. It's not so easy to be a devotee and be politically involved. You have to know that. One of our devotees in South India, he left his position in the temple as leadership, and somebody advised him, Prabhupada said you should enter politics. Why don't you? He also was politically involved. He entered and he lost the election. He's still hanging around with BJP somewhere. But they thought it's a very immature decision. You're not fit for it. Who knows in the future what will happen, but it's a fact that in the future, devotees will take part in politics. They'll go for elections and they'll get elected and they'll use their power and position to introduce Krishna consciousness. Because that's an influential position. Not only politics, they should become famous in many different ways, and from their position, they should introduce Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Any other question or comment? I think you should get a different idea of this movement. Don't think it's just an ordinary movement meant to build a small ashram somewhere and one person will be Matadipati and they will give some prasadam in the hand, they will do arati and you will watch and you will take blessings. என்னுடைய குழந்தையை bless பண்ணுங்க. என்னுடைய இது வந்து he should get admission, he should get married, and these are the things only we do. Prabhupada has made a very ambitious movement. He wants the devotees to take leadership roles and rule the whole world like the Pandavas did. Take them all back to Godhead. You don't think it's a small vision. Prabhupada has passed away from this world, maybe physically. His vision carries on. His movement has spread so much after he left this world. So many things have happened after he left the world. Why? Because he didn't say it is my movement. He didn't put himself in the center. He made us familiar with the absolute truth, put the truth, Krishna, in the center and asked us to serve Krishna. See, the other day in the Bhagavatam class, he was telling the mistake, Christianity. There is a whole religion called Christianity, named after Christ, who is the founder of that particular movement. The religion is named after the movement. When Prabhupada was asked, we shall name it, why don't you name it International Society for God Consciousness? He said, no, why? It should be International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He firmly said it. Then they went to him towards the last days and asked him, Prabhupada, we want to write your biography. He said, what is the necessity for my biography? We have already written about Krishna in our books. You tell everybody about Krishna and distribute my books. People should know about Krishna. Then they said, no, Prabhupada, people will become very inspired by your life. You have traveled the seas and come here when you're 70 years old. You have started this movement. This is no ordinary thing that you have done. And they said people will become inspired to become Krishna conscious. And they dialogued with him and he kept on asking questions. And finally he said, if it helps people to become Krishna conscious, then you may write. And he didn't even go around giving interviews for my biography. He was very busy. He said, you write, find out from somewhere something, you write. Here and there I've said this and that, you can write. He did not make himself the center of his movement. He repeatedly said Krishna is the center. He repeatedly said, my Guru Maharaj has given me this order, I must do it. He repeatedly said Lord Chaitanya's movement. Right? So he didn't make himself the center either. He didn't call it Prabhupadaniyati. Christianity, like he didn't call it Prabhupadaniyati movement. It didn't become another movement based on Prabhupada. Today, Christian religion means you'll see a cross and Jesus hanging on it, crucified and dying. They don't know what they're doing. This is making Christ God. This is not what Christ taught. Christ taught about God. They made him God. The followers made him God. Prabhupada is very careful that you don't do that. Krishna is God. I am a servant of Krishna. You may say that I have done something special in the parampara because of the mercy of my Guru. But you must worship Krishna and you must become his devotee. You must go back to Godhead. That's my teaching. You see, study Prabhupada's movement very carefully. This is the original dharma spoken by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. He's doing it. That is why Prabhupada should be followed. That is why Prabhupada is an amazing personality. He will live forever. He said that, I will not die. I will live in my books forever, he said. And you can see Prabhupada's influence even now. Even without him saying, I am the center, worship me. Don't think these things that are written in Prabhupada's books are small things. They are solid realities. Read carefully and our life will change according to that. These are golden moments. These instructions are really wonderful, and they are absolute truth. They will work. We just need to carefully follow it. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki.